Hi guys, little bit different this week because, well, I fancy doing it. I'm going to do a quick book review of the Blood Bowl Almanac. It's an old one, but frankly it's a good one, and I just want to do a review of it, and that's how I do this channel. It doesn't make money, it makes me happy. Start at the beginning, you've got a table of contents because, you know, looking things up, it's cool. Let me start with the official teams, which is what I'm going to cover in this part. The first team they give us is the Skaven team. Filthy rat people. It gives us a nice background as to what Skaven are. It gives us some famous Skaven teams, the Skaven Boy Scramblers, the Underworld Creepers, and the Warfire Wanderers. Sorry about that, Tourette's acting up again. It gives us the star player profile for Hackflem Scuttlespike, who's played for the Skaven Boy Scramblers and Warfire Wanderers, and it gives us a bit of background to this player character, his age, and standard things you'd expect to see in a star player profile. 16 rushing touchdowns, 39 catching touchdowns, and 72 kills / serious injuries. It then gives you a nice chronological work through of the Skaven Boy Scrambler's career, and the important bit for the rules, all the stats of Skaven players: linemen, throwers, gutter runners, blitzers, and rat ogres. Next up, Nurgle teams, being played by a lot of people at the moment, particularly with all the new Death Guard and Poxwalkers coming out. There's a lot of room for conversion. Add that to the Nurgle team itself and all the Nurgle stuff out there. It's really easy to make a great looking Nurgle team. Again, gives us a bunch of famous Nurgle teams: the Subterranean Slimeballs, the Diseased Destroyers, and the Playbearers, and a star player profile of Gruffle Pussmore. Again, he's a big lad at 6'3", and has the award for the most unique mutation. Again, it gives you a nice profile there, telling you what they've done. For example, as the NAF collapses, the rotters begin to fall apart and the team gets decimated and destroyed. However, the crew of a fishing vessel discover the frozen body of one of the rotters and they take it on board. By the time the ship arrives at its home port, the crew has become the new Nurgle's rotters because they've rotted so much. And that's frankly, I love those bits of the stories. It's bits of the stories like that that really make Blood Bowl. I'm just going to square the camera a little, sorry. That make Blood Bowl the fun game it is, the sense of humour, the wry wit, and basically a game that's about fun first. I love 40k, don't get me wrong, but it's about being cool and being a good game, potentially well balanced. There's lots of things which go into 40k. They consider the balance you get in tournaments, they consider the balance you get in home play, they consider fun, obviously, they consider how cool it is, and they consider maintaining the integrity of the intellectual property, all of which are important. Whereas Blood Bowl is just dumb fun, and frankly that's what makes it probably my favourite game of all time. At some point I will hopefully be doing some match recordings of it, mostly because I now have, I won't say a new camera, but a camera that might allow me to do it. Hopefully I'll start getting more stuff recorded on camera as soon as I can figure out how the thing works. Again, you've got the Nurgle team, again, you've got the stats, including rotters, which are your basic lineman equivalent, your pestigores, your bloaters, and your rotspawn, who's your big bad guy. Next, it goes on to dwarf teams. We love dwarf teams. They're one of the first teams we saw out, with a star player profile of Grim Ironjaw and the famous dwarf teams, the Dwarf Warhammers, the Grudge Bearers, and Zufbar's Amateur 11. It then goes on to give a team profile of the Dwarf Giants. You notice these team profiles do match up with the teams they've released. Obviously, they're trying to encourage you to buy and play their teams, but you don't have to play their teams as the Dwarf Giants. You can play as any Dwarven team. They've got some cool stuff, some cool bits written down, and again, Dwarf team stats for your blockers, your runners, your blitzers, your troll slayers, and your death rollers. Dwarves don't get a big guide, they get basically an illegal weapon, which is your death roller. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's like a giant lawn flattener with blades. And it crushes your opponent before getting sent off for being ridiculously illegal. People may know that Dwarves are one of the slower teams and the least agile, but they're still a fantastic steamroller of a team. You've got the Elven Union, or as it's often referred to, the Elven Onion. Onions have layers. The Elven Union is your basic Elven team. You have linemen, throwers, catchers, and blitzers. It gives you famous Union teams, the Elfheim Eagles and the Celestial Comets, as well as giving you the star player profile of Eredril Sidewinder, very posh and poncy elf name, and a good background of the Elven Union team. I'd like to slag off Elven players because I'm so much of a Dwarf fan, and then I'd have to admit that I play what else. I don't know why, I just like the way they play. Like an arsehole. Following that, you've got the High Elf teams. The High Elf teams are awesome. In case you're wondering what the difference between a High Elf team and an Elven Union player team is, it's the AV. High Elf teams get an AV of 7 and 8. Compared to Elven Union teams, which, get an AV of 8 and 7. Linemen 8, throwers 8, catchers 7, and blitzers 8, whereas the Elven Union gets linemen 7, throwers 7, catchers 7, blitzers 8. That's AVRA. You know, having that slightly tougher armour does make them a little bit more survivable compared to your average Elven Union player. But you're paying the extra cost for them. You've got the Galadriel Gladiators and the Galador Dragons as the two teams of legend, and the Prince Moranion as a star player profile. I'll just take a quick aside. If you're wondering why I'm not going through the stats in more detail, that's because there is a section at the back which goes into the stats. Is it? Yeah, there is a section at the back which goes into the stats in great detail, and I'm going to go through that one and deal with the stats then. It includes ogre teams, vampire teams, shambling undead, and all that stuff. It has the you've got an official reference guide, and then you've got teams of legend. I'm going to go through the stats then and compare stats at that point. At the moment, I'm just doing a brief overview of the teams and what they're like. You've got a nice team profile of the Galadriel Gladiators, and again, your High Elf team stats there, telling what you've got. You've got your Dark Elf teams now, following that, which is your Dark Side Cowboys, your Naggaroth Nightmares, and your Kane Killers. For those of you not familiar, maybe because you've only played Age of Sigmar, Blood Bowl is set in the old world. So prior to the destruction that gave birth to the Age of Sigmar realms, there was one old world referred to as the Warhammer world. There were the end times, it blew up, and you've got the realms that you now see in Age of Sigmar. Blood Bowl didn't move with the times, it stayed in the old world, primarily because a lot of its players loved the old teams and they didn't want to lose them. Also, GW wanted to bring it out, and they hadn't fully finalised how and what a lot of the races were going to be in AOS and how they were going to function, what they were going to be called. For example, the Ironeth Deepkin didn't exist when this came out. The fact that the Dark Elves and the Elves were together was a thing, which meant you had fewer teams. So they decided to stick with the old world stuff and go from there. That doesn't mean that if you fancy playing, for example, a Sigmarite Blood Bowl team, you couldn't convert it. Nobody's going to care. Just pick a team which you think matches best and use it as counter rules. Possibly Dwarfs, just because of the massive amounts of armor. Anyway, back to you've got the Dark Elf teams with the Darkside Cowboys, the Naggaroth Nightmares, and the Kane's Killers. We've got the star player. We're seeing our first female star player profile here with Roxana Darknail. You've then got a team profile of the Darkside Cowboys. Again, all the way up to the point that the Nath went into receivership. And then stats of the Dark Elf teams, including linemen, runners, assassins, which are one of the nastier ones, blitzers, and witch elves. Worth noting that Dark Elves don't have a big heavy. They don't have ogres, trolls, or anything like that. They rely on stabby, and then some more stabby. Then the best of the elf teams, the Wood Elf. I'm not just saying that because I play Wood Elves. They are generally considered to be one of the nastiest teams out there, just because of, well, because of the combination of their high agility, their fast movement, and some of the skills that they start with. Start with 2 War Dancers. If you're playing Wood Elves, always start with your 2 War Dancers. You need to get those guys playing. You need to get them skilled up and protected ASAP, because any opponent worth a salt will kill any War Dancer he sees. Little advice from a War Dancer player there. Yep, we've got a background of what Wood Elves are. Famous Wood Elf teams: the Athlon Avengers, the Laurel Lawn Paladin. The Laurel Lawn Paladins, the Bill Bally Archers. We've then got a star profile of Jordell Freshbreeze, who's quite cool. A team profile of the Athlon Avengers, and then the Wood Elf teams, including your linemen, your catchers, your War Dancers, which are one of the most expensive, but pound for pound, one of the best players in the game. They start with block, dodge, and leap as a combo. They've got a movement allowance of 8, an agility of 3. An agility of 4, meaning they're rolling 2s to do everything and getting rerolls in most circumstances. They're unbelievably good. And then we move on to the Treeman, the biggest and probably strongest single model in the game at the moment. It's worth noting that this is anything I refer to is just going to be within the 2016 Blood Bowl rules. I'm not going to be referring to the living rule book because not everyone has access to it. If you like Blood Bowl and you're in Britain, the NAF is a very strong, very well organised bunch of guys. They have extra rules for teams that aren't available. Just so you know, wonder what I'm doing. I've got a kitten. This is a kitten, and it's crawling across my page right now. There's another kitten moving just out of view shot, so I apologise if I get distracted by kittens. Moving on, we've got the Goblin team. The Goblin team is awesome. You may notice I haven't mentioned humans or orcs. This doesn't include the base teams, except in the back. The Almanac is a conglomeration of the first 2 upgrades to Blood Bowl. But yeah, we've got the Goblin team that's got some really nice stuff. It's got some famous Goblin teams. It doesn't have a Goblin star player in it. Some have come out since then. Yes, I know, you're a kitten, deal with it. Sorry. One. Behold, I am being assaulted. Oh, don't fall off the table, you mental cat. Sorry about that. You've got the Lowdown Rats, the Scar Scrag Snibblers, and the Green Boys. then the team profile of their own rats, and sorry, and the stats for the goblins. Your basic goblin, your bomber, your loony, your fanatic, your doom diver, your pogoer, your hooligan, and your trolls. It's worth noting your bomber, loony, fanatic, doom diver, pogoer, and hooligan are all limited to 1, and they're all special weapons. You basically get up to 16 goblins, 2 trolls, and a ton of random crap, which actually makes goblin teams one of the most fun to play. I'll go into more details in a later video. Then we've got the Chaos Renegades. Again, no special player yet. You've got the Mongrel Horde, the Midden Marauders, the Howling Hill Hellions, and the Chaos All-Stars as their famous teams. Team profile on the Chaos All-Stars. And you've got some stats on the Chaos Renegades. Basically, if you want to know what the difference between Chaos Renegades and others are, Chaos Renegades get linesmen, they get human, goblin, orc, skaven, and dark elf linesmen, and then they get troll, ogre, or minotaurs as their big heavy. They're the ones that let you play all stuff. That's how they differ from Chaos Chosen. And finally, in this book, you've got the Underworld Denzins. Again, no star player. 4 teams: the Underworld Creepers, the Cragmire Critters, and the Dragon Crag Dirtbags. You've got a profile of the Underworld Creepers and stats for Goblins, Skaven Linesmen, Skaven Throwers, Skaven Blitzers, and a Troll. Basically, Goblins are base linemen and a lot of Skaven specialists. That's the end of the the additional teams that come in this magazine. Next one we'll be doing the new star players. As I said, I'll be going into much more detail on what each team does, its stats, and how they affect the game in a later video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from my kitten. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.